Go to Gideon Levy now. He's a columnist at Haaretz newspaper, joins us from Tel Aviv. Good to have you with us. So, Gideon, as this Arab gathering is taking place, what we've been seeing is an intensification of attacks going on even today from the Israeli side, which I guess highlights how little attention Israel is paying to the statements, the calls coming from the Arab world at this point.
This was quite an understatement. We are witnessing now a beginning of a huge extermination program. Nothing but this. And Israel doesn't hide it. This new phase of the war will be against rebels, against uprooted people, refugees without anything who will be pushed to the south. And the entire Gaza Strip will be really exterminated. I can't find the right words to describe what are the plans. And as you say, there is no one to stand and stop it, to raise his voice. The world is indifferent. The Americans are indifferent. And Israelis believe that that's part of them, at least, believe that that's the right thing to do, and Israel has the right to do it after the 7th of October.
And we saw this sort of pattern particularly intensifying while Donald Trump was actually touring the Gulf region. Was there a link there? Was Israel making a statement?
Israel made only one statement, and this is that Israel realized that Donald Trump can't care less about Gaza, and therefore the way is open for this operation. Would he really want to stop Israel? He could do it with one phone call. He didn't bother to do it. He did some other very important things, I must say, and some of them can be very promising. But by ignoring what Israel is doing now in Gaza, he's a full partner to what's going on to happen now.
So what do you make of the reports of a strained relationship between Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu?
Now, you see, we shouldn't take too seriously the personal relations because Donald Trump is so unexpected. It's already a cliche to say so, and changing his mind and his views and his plans from one day to the other. He can one day say he wants peace in Gaza and the next day let Israel go to this attack now. I don't have any tools to measure his criteria.
What about the idea that Israel was trying to make a point because it felt left out of this regional tour and left out of the talks to free the American-Israeli soldier captive that was released in direct talks between Hamas and the US officials?
No, it's exactly the opposite order. Israel was left aside because it was very clear to the American administration that Israel is an obstacle. Israel was left aside because it was very clear that Netanyahu is not ready to put an end to the war and to withdraw from Gaza. And without it, there is no deal, obviously. And therefore, Israel was left aside. Would Netanyahu be more cooperative and more courageous? He would be a full partner of what happened in the last week.
How do you read that? I'm curious to know, to get your take then, how do you read the Israeli position developing going forward if, as the signals are coming from Donald Trump, that they're getting closer, the Americans are getting closer to doing a deal with Iran?
What can Israel do? Israel can do nothing about it. I think it's a very hopeful development. But those who believe only in bombing Iran as the only solution, what can they do? Israel cannot go for an attack over Iran without at least American approval. And if there will be a deal, there will be no approval. And I think many lives will be saved. But Israel can't do nothing about it. I mean, Israel is now at its lowest point in terms of being dependent on the United States. And therefore, the responsibility of Donald Trump is so criminal by letting Israel go to this operation in Gaza now.
And as you're talking, of course, just to remind viewers, Gideon, we're looking at these live pictures coming in from Baghdad. A lot of leaders gathering, to discuss their position on a number of issues, primarily the situation vis-a-vis Israel's war on Gaza. And Gideon, I'm wondering, this is coming just after that tour of the region, as I mentioned, by Donald Trump. How do you read what we have seen in the last few days with Donald Trump going through the region? Has there been something of an evolution in the US position towards the Arab world? Or do you read the situation closer to those who are critical of the Arab world and say they gave too much for too little in return?
It all depends on the devotion and the seriousness of Donald Trump. And I cannot foresee if he is serious. If he is serious about everything he said, and he will try to also implement some of the things at least. So it's a very, very positive development. For example, lifting the sanctions over Syria is a very hopeful step because it might change Syria. It might help Syria to stand on its own feet. It might help Syria to join the region and maybe one day also the Abraham Accord as Donald Trump tried to push them. Will he continue this direction in which the relationship with the Arab world is not only about doing what Israel wants to happen, but also what is good for the United States and good for the world, namely investments, new projects, innovation? Then Israel will have to decide, are you part of it, or do you want to be left aside as the only country whose language, the only language, is shooting and bombarding?
All right. Thank you so much for sharing your analysis. That's Gideon Levy there, columnist at Haaretz newspaper and author of The Punishment of Gaza.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.